There's just so much.
You're listening to a Mamamia podcast.
Mamamia acknowledges the traditional owners of land and waters that this podcast is recorded on. Hello, it's Jessie here. As you know, we here at Cancelled are the patron saints of lazy girls. We like not doing anything. And after a year of hard work, we've decided that we're going to take a little break and not record anything for a little while. But we didn't want to leave you high and dry with no Cancelled in your life because we also care about you, our fellow lazy girls. So for the next few weeks, we're going to drop some of our all-time favourite episodes back into your feed. Now, there's some from ages ago that you've probably missed that are still completely relevant because these people are still very cancelled. We thought you would enjoy. We hope they can be a little soundtrack to your own lazy girl summer. Enjoy it. You deserve it. We will be back, working not too hard, but slightly more in the new year. Hello and welcome to Cancelled, a comedy podcast with myself, Jessie Stevens, and Claire Stevens, who actually does all the work for this podcast. I go really deep on a celebrity or a TV show, or I don't know, maybe one day it'll be a theme. And I bring the evidence about cancellation. I am the prosecution, and Jessie, sometimes you are the defence. Sometimes we mix it up. This is a celebrity courtroom. You may have heard of a celebrity courtroom. What happens here is that we ensure that the punishment fits the crime, because there's nothing worse than when there is a slight indiscretion, too much punishment. Big indiscretion, not enough punishment. So we make sure that they match. I thought I would begin by just sharing a little bit of what occurred before we got into this recording studio today. Okay, Jessie. Claire, as you say, you do all the work. But today you said there are 3 pieces of evidence I think you should have a look at before we enter the courtroom. It happens sometimes. Lawyers sometimes don't just improv in the room. Sometimes they look at some papers before.
They give you a heads up.
So
just by the way, I'm bringing this to court. If you want to refute it.
Yep. Have a little squiz.
Yeah.
Have a little squiz.
Yep.
And that's what you said. Have a little squiz in order to maybe come up with a defense. And I went, yes. Okay, I can do work for a podcast. So the first thing, and this might give a hint about who we're talking about, was a Pepsi commercial. And I watched it. And then what I did was I went, oh, I want a Pepsi. So I did go for a walk, get a Pepsi, and I did not watch the other 2 things as I was distracted by the purchasing of a product from PepsiCo.
Okay, well, I would just like to put it on the record that you messaged me and said, can I get you a Pepsi? And I said, hell yeah. And you got me a Pepsi Max. And I felt like it was a Pepsi day.
I know. I do regret that, actually. I wanted a full strength, as we call it.
Yeah.
But no, I did get a Pepsi Max. This isn't sponsored by Pepsi, but it should be. Yeah. And we've said that before. It fuels this program. And it is a theme in today's episode. Claire, please tell the listeners and also me who we're talking about.
Kendall Jenner.
Hey, Kendall Jenner.
Hi.
I came here to ask you 73 questions very, very quickly.
Let's do it. Come on in.
All right.
You're the highest paid supermodel in the world. Who's the most unlikable supermodel?
I have the answer. I can't say it, though.
I think you should experience it. You always say I want to experience things, but I don't think you actually want to experience things because you would experience it if you wanted to experience things. I don't know what you're talking about.
Kendall Jenner is a 26-year-old reality star and model. She's the half-sister of Kim Kardashian. She's one of the highest paid models in the world and is the daughter of Caitlyn Jenner and Kris Jenner. Now, Jessie, sometimes on this show we like to mention people's middle names. Don't know why, it just gives a bit more context about who they are, such as Shane Keith Warren. Guess what Kendall Jenner's middle name is?
Is it a K? Is it a K?
No.
Oh. No idea.
It's Nicole.
I think that works. Okay. Oh, it's not a surprise. What do you think of the name Nicole?
Do you want to know who she's named after?
What Nicole?
It's named after Chris's best friend, Nicole Brown Simpson, who was murdered just before Kendall was conceived. But the awkward thing is that Chris's ex-husband and the father of Kim, Chloe and Courtney defended O.J. Simpson in court.
That's so complicated.
So it's a weird middle name.
Yeah.
Weird vibe.
Interesting. Okay. But, I think that is also going to be a theme today.
Weird vibe. Weird feelings. Kendall was 12 when Keeping Up with the Kardashians debuted and 13 when she signed her first modelling contract. She's a bit of a controversial character, so I'm going to go through her controversies one by one. Jessie, I would like you to take on the role of Kris Jenner, her defence, and the person who works harder than the devil. Yes, I'm her manager, her defender, her
Biological mother.
Yeah, a lot of things. Starting with the Pepsi commercial. You've got your little Pepsi there to help.
I do.
Jessie, what do you remember about the Pepsi commercial from watching it today?
I did watch it today. All right. It is so confusing and upsetting.
No dialogue.
No dialogue. For context for anyone who hasn't seen it in a while, it's the ad where it goes for like a minute and a half, and it was in 2017 or 2018 when protests were really big all over the world, and Pepsi was like, we want in on the protest scene. We want people going to protests with an esky full of Pepsi.
Yeah.
And so what they did was stage a protest that had no cause, unclear.
It was a non-specific protest.
It was a non-specific protest with lots of different people with lots of different symbols.
And the sign said join the conversation.
Because that's what protests are about. Sometimes I've gone to a protest, which is all just about, I just want a conversation about what, nothing in particular, just a chat.
Yeah.
So this was about a chat protest. And Kendall was modelling in the corner, unclear why. It was a busy Strait, go around the corner. There's a protest. It's distracting. She had a blonde wig on, so no one could tell it was Kendall.
No.
And then she took the blonde wig off, and this was the most important moment, when in the protest-appropriated video, she hoisted it upon a black woman. It is the only reference to a black woman in the whole 90 seconds. Black men and women who have staged protests all over the world for like Black Lives Matter, police brutality. That is the only act a black woman plays in this is you hold Kendall's blonde wig. She throws it at her violently. And then she storms over to a police officer and hands him a can of full-strength Pepsi.
And what does he do?
He takes a sip and then like winks at the guy next to him.
He smiles.
It's a peace offering?
Yeah, and then Kendall kind of steps back in line with the protest, starts dancing because the protest has been resolved.
The protest is more about, it is like a vibe. It's more like a festival of fun. And that's what the Pepsi is there for, and it's chilled and it's saying next time you go to a protest, doesn't matter what, Pepsi we're going to align with whatever will make us more money.
It's going to alleviate tensions.
Exactly. You come with your ice bucket full of an assortment. Pepsi, relatedly Pepsi Max, bottle, can, glass, whatever.
Exactly.
And that's kind of the theme of that.
So, Kris, thank you for filling us in on that. I know that you were very across the production of that ad. The ad was, of course, criticised for trivialising protests against police brutality, which particularly affects Black Americans, and was pulled down within a day. Jenner apologised and was reportedly devastated. A few thoughts on that commercial, and Kris, I will put these to you. The daughter of Martin Luther King Jr. tweeted a photo of her dad at a protest with the words, "If only Daddy would have known about the power of Pepsi." What do you say to that, Kris Jenner?
I say if only. It was clearly, I mean, the ad speaks for itself. It is a peace offering, a white flag, surrender, I don't know. But a shared fizzy beverage has solved world tensions since the beginning of time. It's Pepsi. It's very tasty.
Okay, thanks, Kris. And also, people tweeted photos of an actual black kid handing out actual water bottles to police at an actual protest and being completely ignored by them.
You know it's better than water.
What?
Fizzy drink.
Okay.
It's more exciting on the taste buds. And that's what this was about. It was saying, Kendall will give you more than water. All right? She's from one of the richest families in America. She can afford a few cans of Pepsi.
She can.
And she'll give them out at a protest where she doesn't know the cause. Because she doesn't need to. And
it's unimportant.
Because it's unimportant. And what this tells us is that anything can be solved with capitalism. Okay? With just coming and going, why don't we all just agree to buy more Pepsi, the cans of which will inevitably end up in landfill, and we'll fight more.
The other thing I will tender into evidence is that Kendall is a terrible actress. It doesn't come naturally to her.
No, she was even acting modelling and I was like, sweetie, isn't that what you do?
Yeah,
like,
don't
why
have
do
to
you
act
look
it.
like you're pretending to be? It's like, just pretend, just say you're on a modelling shoot. You don't have to act.
No.
But she had the blonde wig on, so it threw her.
Yeah, she was like, I'm doing an acting now. And even when she's at the protest and looking all happy and excited, she didn't nail the brief.
No.
Which
No.
I hope that wasn't the brief. Moving on.
Okay.
Fyre Festival. You never want the Pepsi commercial incident followed by Fyre Festival. You never want that combo. It's 2017, around the same time as the Pepsi commercial, and Kendall is paid $275,000 to endorse Fyre Festival, the luxury music festival that ended up being completely fraudulent.
All these models, like, in the Bahamas.
The most insane festival the world has ever seen.
Island getaway turned disaster.
It became very barbaric.
Guests got there and the food was hilariously terrible. They were in emergency tents rather than luxury accommodation. The artists who were performing had pulled out and the festival was postponed and then cancelled. Kendall was one of a group of influencers who promoted the festival and did not disclose that she was being paid to do so. She was sued in 2019 and it was argued she had, 1, led people to believe the festival would be filled with famous models on an exotic private island with first-class culinary experiences and a luxury atmosphere.
Yeah.
Didn't happen.
That's what she was told, so.
2, intentionally misinforming the public that Kanye would be performing. She tweeted pretty much saying, yeah, Kanye West is going to be performing. I've got this promo code. He was never performing.
Yeah, but if you tell people Kanye are performing, they're more likely to go. So what that is clever marketing.
Okay, thanks, Chris. She ended up paying a $90,000 settlement in court. And this is what I don't understand about the law that exists outside of this council courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
She paid a $90,000 settlement. She still made $185,000 off an ad she failed to disclose for a service that didn't happen. What?
Yes. Now, I have a few defences for what did occur at Fyre Festival. The first is that you made a comment about, Kendall didn't declare that she was paid for the ad. If you declare that you're paid, people are less likely to believe you. So what you do is you pretend it's organic. We've done it with Kim. We've done it with Kylie. I think Kim did some weight loss lollipops full of shit. But when she does it and says, I lost 20 kilos and all my baby weight, they fly off the shelves, those lollipops.
I bet they do.
So that's what we call PR marketing genius.
All right. We also call it against the rules. Kendall released a statement about the Fyre Festival. She's not huge on the statements when she stuffs up. With Pepsi, for example, they thought she was probably gagged by Pepsi. She couldn't really come out and speak about it. But about Fyre Festival, she said, you get reached out by people to, whether it be to promote...
No wonder she doesn't make statements. It doesn't make any sense. Grammatically, we needed some help.
Whether it be to promote or help or whatever. And you never know how these things are going to turn out. Sometimes it's a risk. I definitely do as much research as I can, but sometimes there isn't much research you can do because it's a starting brand and you kind of have to have faith in it and hope it will work out the way people say it will. That is her way of saying it's quite simple, really. This is a woman who wants to be paid to endorse things. Does she have time to look into them?
No.
God, no. Does she think critically about them? Of course not. But is she willing to be paid to endorse your product? Yeah.
Kendall, too trusting Jenner. Okay, she's just too trusting of brands. She wants to believe the best in Fyre Festival, but she is a glass half full lady.
So, Chris, what did you think when you found out that Fyre Festival wasn't going as planned and that Kendall had been a very vocal promoter of it?
I thought poor Kendall. I mean, it's not ideal for Kendall.
And you didn't think about the people on the island who were stranded, lost money?
No, I was actually DMing them on Twitter just saying if you could keep it hush hush because you talking about, there's nothing to eat. There's no fresh water on this island. I was like, Kendall's having a bad day.
Yeah.
Okay?
She's
Because
finding
Kendall
this quite
endorsed
stressful.
this, and she's going to have to give back a tiny portion of that money that she made. So have some respect.
Next controversy, proactive. In January 2019, there started to be whispers about something Kendall Jenner was announcing. Her mother, Chris, that's you, posted, "I'm so proud of my darling Kendall Jenner for being so brave and vulnerable. Seeing you share your most raw story in order to make a positive impact for so many people and help foster a positive dialogue is a testament to the incredible woman you've become." She also said, "Be prepared to be moved and use the hashtags authenticity, be the change the conversation, and my daughter inspires me." Kendall also posted a video to build up the suspense, and we're going to play some of that.
When I was 14, I couldn't reach as many people as I can now. Now that I'm 22 and I have this whole thing behind me, I can speak to so many people and just be like, I can help you, and it's okay. And I experience it. I'm very normal, and like, I understand you. Like, I can connect with you.
Jessie, putting your Chris persona aside, hearing that, what do you think it is that Kendall needs to announce?
I thought it was severe mental illness.
Okay.
That she was going to, because she was like, I suffer too. I'm here to help people. I'm here to connect. I'm 22 now. The amount of people in Hollywood who say I'm 22 now, as if they therefore have more to say.
It's like your career started when you were 8. That's why 22 sounds really old.
So I was convinced it was, I'm going to speak candidly about mental illness, maybe a trauma in her past, maybe some massive philanthropic thing that she'd been doing for ages. What did you think it was going to be about?
A lot of people thought it was coming out about her sexuality. I described it as queer baiting, or talking about abuse of some kind. But instead, she was coming out about her acne. And it was an ad for Proactive.
I remember last year I was at an award show and I was very excited about it. I'd never been before. I remember getting ready that day, getting my makeup on. I got on the carpet. I felt really good about myself. Then I remember going online and seeing all the horrible things people were saying about me and my skin. I felt so good that I completely forgot that I had bad skin. Then I remember getting a couple tweets that became a lot of tweets of how proud people were of me. But at the same time, I do want it gone. For me, I can honestly say that the magic was Proactive.
This has become a common theme in the story of Kendall Jenner. It's always an ad. It's always an ad. When she does the wrong thing, it's just an ad. Proactive's press release.
Kendall Jenner is just a series of ads. Like, I don't know anything about her beyond what she has said in a paid advertisement.
Proactive's press release said, "I'm in awe of Kendall's bravery and willingness to be vulnerable and raw in order to help others. Game change. She's a hero." Is
she helping others?
I don't see how, personally. Kendall's story is unbelievably compelling. And most importantly, it's real.
Is it unbelievably compelling?
Is it real? Her skin transformation continues to be staggering. She loves Proactive as much as we do. And most importantly, she did this with her whole, very big, incredibly genuine heart. Okay, I think you're overemphasizing the importance of skin. You know what? There have been days where I've wanted to say the heartbreaking, breathtaking thing that some celebrity said. Was it heartbreaking or breathtaking? No. But you want to click more if you think it is. And so I do relate to this. But I think maybe by that stage she'd had enough mishaps that we should have been a little bit more sensitive.
Careful.
One tweet in response. The tweets were great. One said, "Is Kendall Jenner's announcement really that she has minor acne?"
Yes. Because it's not like she had cystic. You and I both had cystic acne.
That was
like,
fun.
In our 20s, we both had, long story, but we ended up getting this injection for a vitamin deficiency. Honestly, this would never happen to Kendall. For a vitamin deficiency, and we ended up with cystic acne. And to this day, people say, "Remember when you had that acne?" And we have to be like, yeah, no, it was really...
Yeah, it was a fun few months.
Yeah, like I did notice. But at the time, people pretend they didn't. They did. They clocked it.
You know what didn't help?
What?
Proactive.
Oh, doesn't with cystic acne?
No.
It might with a few spots.
Oh, who knows? I don't think this is a testament to it at all. Because are we meant to believe that Kendall Jenner, one of the richest women in the world,
only uses Proactive?
Has access to only Proactive? Not special facials, not the world's best skincare, but quite a mainstream product that's been advertised for a long time.
They sell it in Westfield.
Someone also said in a tweet, "That's it? Question mark. Cracks Pepsi."
That's me. Exactly. Squirts proactive out of a bottle, sticks on cystic acne.
Exactly. I think this adds further to my personal case that Kendall Jenner will advertise pretty much anything.
Yes.
Moving on to February 2021, Kendall launched her own tequila brand. It's called 818 Tequila. Maybe 818, who knows. People got mad. Was it because no one knows why Kendall Jenner could possibly need a tequila brand? No. For the launch, she shared a campaign she had shot from an agave farm in Jalisco, Mexico. She's got her hair in 2 braids. She's wearing jeans, a cowboy hat, a loose cotton shirt over a singlet top, and people called the look cultural appropriation or alternatively an attempt at migrant chic.
Oh.
The other thing is that no other country can produce tequila. And there are a bunch of brands that make tequila in the specific area Kendall is that are now going to be crushed. Because a Jenner went, here's a market, I'll have a monopoly. And people are very, very mad about her tequila.
At that stage, I think people are grasping.
Okay.
Migrant chic and cultural appropriation is a worry.
I will say there have been a lot of accusations against Kendall Jenner for cultural appropriation. She's had a afro.
Oh, wow.
That was really screwed up. She's had cornrows. And I will say, in every one of those instances, I was profoundly uncomfortable looking at the image.
Okay. I didn't realise she had a history of it.
No, but then this was particularly bad. When you look at the image and you see the 2 braids and you see the hat and she's playing a Mexican. And it feels odd given I just don't know why she needed the tequila company.
Yeah. With the money she made from Proactive, from Pepsi, even once she gave a little bit of money back for Fyre Festival, she still made a profit. You wonder why she also needs the tequila brand. Okay, she's trying to find her own thing. Kim has Skims.
Yes.
Among other things. The other one, Kylie.
She has Kylie Cosmetics.
She has her lips things and stuff. Honestly, Chloe and Courtney, not quite sure.
Courtney has a lot of children.
Okay. Rob tried to get into socks.
He's got his sock company.
Okay, he went into a sock company. So Kendall needs to find her things. And in her defense, everything is taken.
Okay.
Everything.
But she already has her thing, which is campaigns that go badly. I don't understand.
Yeah, maybe she really needs to, focus more on that niche. I think she was trying to steer away from that with the tequila brand, but
It didn't land well.
No.
She was also photographed super recently. Well, it was part of a campaign where she had a bottle of tequila and she was drinking it through a straw.
Oh.
And that got really slammed by all the drink responsibly campaigns.
She didn't drink tequila through a straw.
No. And I just think that's further evidence she's not really drinking the tequila.
No, there's water in there.
No, it's more just a fun little project. So that's her attempt to ruin Mexico. Now, modelling. Kendall is an exceptionally successful model. She often tops lists as the highest paid model of the year. There have been opinion pieces and blind items, that is anonymous stories, about how her last name and existing fame might have provided her with more opportunities than your default model. If I were Kendall Jenner, I would admit that. I would acknowledge that maybe I was in rooms I wouldn't have been in had I not been part of the most famous family in America.
Yeah, a bit of a leg up.
Yeah, but instead, she seems to argue that being so famous made it harder to be a successful model. In 2021, on a Keeping Up with the Kardashians reunion special, she said,
Of course, I had a platform, and I never took that for granted. I always knew that was there, but that almost made my job a little bit harder, only because people probably didn't want to hire me because I was on a reality TV show.
She actually wouldn't allow us as a family to go to any of the fashion shows.
Why?
And sit front row because she didn't want to be distracted.
Or film.
Yeah.
I took my last name off of my name on all my modeling cards so that I was taken completely seriously. I mean, I literally went to the middle of nowhere castings. I definitely worked my way to where I am now. I think it's just a perception that people have that I just was give it to me, and I had it. It definitely was not that.
I don't know how to say kindly, I don't believe you. No. I don't think you did go to castings in the middle of nowhere, because I think instead you flew to New York and Balenciaga said, hey, Kendall Jenner, want to be front of our campaign? And she said, I've got a proactive campaign, but maybe later.
And also, I have a thing where I really front campaigns fraudulent. So if you could exploit children, if you could be selling a bag that doesn't exist, like that's more my brand. And then they pivoted.
Yeah. Also, the idea that her fame was a bit of a hindrance seems very at odds with a quote that got her in a lot of trouble in 2018 when she said in an interview, "Since the beginning, we've been super selective about what shows I would do. I was never one of those girls who would do like 30 shows a season or whatever the fuck those girls do." More power to them. But I had a million jobs, not only catwalks, but everything else. The whole combination was very overwhelming and I started to freak out a little bit and needed to take a step back. Also funny that she says they're super selective when it's like, sweetie, you've had some doozies. Look, it's super selective, so we did proactive and got me cancelled. So Jessie, well, Chris, which is it? Did the fame hinder her? Or did the fame mean that she was so successful that she thinks it's a little bit lame for people who do 30 shows in a season?
It is. If you were better at modelling with clothes on, then you would get those opportunities. And that's the thing, is that everyone knows that fame and fortune are hindrances in the modern world.
Some of the biggest.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about racism, sexism. What we don't talk enough about is how hard it is for Kendall. And it's called Kendallism.
Yeah.
And it's about the particular discrimination that Kendall, a white, rich woman, experiences on account of being hot.
Thank you, Chris. My final transgression. I've called it cool girl / mean girl behaviour. She's become a bit of a meme. And Jessie, you're probably aware of the TikTok sound. This is one of the first things that came to my head when we were talking about Kendall Jenner.
I'm literally built as an athlete. Every blood test I've ever done has said that I am like over the normal limit of athleticness.
And to that I'd like to say, we're clearly getting different blood tests because I have never had a doctor say, okay, so here's your iron levels, your vitamin D, your vitamin B12.
You're an athlete.
No, to me they'd say, and according to this, you're well below average levels of athleticness. According to, we call it the Kendall chart, you actually sit very, very low.
She's at the top.
I don't think a blood test tells you your level of athleticness.
I did my ancestry DNA one.
And what did it say about your athleticness?
It judged my athleticism. And it said that I had great endurance, to which I was like, I didn't live up to that.
Okay.
And that's actually more offensive because it's like, oh, that's in my genetics and I've resisted that. I've not lived through my potential. It said that I had highly decreasing levels of collagen.
Oh. I feel like that's not a test.
That I age exceptionally fast.
I feel like that's not a test anyone should take. But maybe she does have high levels of athleticness, but still, it's a cringe sound.
Stop telling us.
Speaking of, in 2014, Kendall has had what a lot of celebrities have had, which is the kind of phase that social media goes on when it'll randomly be a Reddit thread, a Twitter thread, a random gossip website that says, Kendall Jenner's a horrible person, share your stories. And in 2014, a waitress wrote on Twitter, that horrible moment you chase a Kardashian down the street because she forgot to pay her bill to be thrown money in your face. She was talking about Kendall. Then...
Is that true?
Well, probably not. But 3 years later, Kendall was wrapped in another scandal with a bar in Brooklyn. Somebody posted a picture of a bill for $24 that Kendall had signed but left the tip field blank. You know how it works in America.
Yeah.
The person put on Instagram, don't forget to tip your bartender. Kendall responded and said that she paid the tip in cash. But then the bar said, no, that's not true. She's lying. She did not tip. So we're getting to some pretty petty things right now.
In Kendall's defense, as Chris, you'll remember that she was expecting more money from the Fyre Festival situation.
She's saving.
Yes.
Okay, that's fair. During the 2018 Met Gala, there was a live stream and she was pictured shoving a security guard out of the way that was in her shot. So they're taking a photo of her, there's a security guard, and she's like, sorry.
Doesn't go with the aesthetic.
Yeah, can you move out of the way? You're blocking my shot. To that I would say maybe one of the photographers perhaps asked her to move him. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes when you're on a red carpet, the photographers will be like, oh, security, move, and she's just kind of giving him a pat on the back. but it is more fun to think it was malicious.
You know what I realised? I was at a wedding this weekend and I realised that I have a real phobia of being in a photo and then being asked to get out.
Oh,
you know when you see people, I saw it with like the bridal party and there was a misunderstanding of whether the bridal party was in it, and then someone has to say, get out.
Get out of
We
the
only
photo.
want the bride and groom.
Yeah.
And there is a look people get in their face, what they do with their bodies, that I go, I would rather never be in a photo again than be told, we want one without you.
Yeah, move. You're ruining it.
You're ruining the photo. It's an ongoing phobia of mine.
Okay, well, that security guard had that experience.
Yep.
And he was pushed out of the way by Kendall. Jessie, it's time for charges and sentences. Jessie, my first charge. As I was reviewing this evidence that I've tendered into the cancel courtroom, I started to wonder, is she problematic or is she just young?
It's a question of all time.
Yeah, same as, Justin Timberlake, we asked.
Is he problematic or is he a white man?
Is he a white man? And often the answer is a white man who is problematic.
The Venn diagram, it just overlaps.
It does. So I am charging Kendall Jenner with being young. The sentence is, grow up chronologically. Not in the sense of, grow up, but just you should grow up age-wise.
How old is she now?
Like 26.
I mean, that's old enough.
I feel like a lot of the hate people have towards her is about her behaviour on, say, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, where she was a bit of a bratty teenager. And it's like, if you saw the fights we had with Mum at 15, you would hate us. And you would be like, that is a horrible person. And we would agree.
Yes.
But I think she has been a little bit disadvantaged by the fact that she was famous so young, made some horrible decisions.
Yeah, no, I agree. She's a victim in that way.
Yeah.
All right, what's your next charge?
On a similar vein, one thing that has got Kendall into trouble, just like is she problematic or is she just young? Is she problematic or is she just highly privileged?
Yeah,
And
rich
therefore-
young person.
And therefore out of touch. And my sentence for being too privileged is go to Mexico, but like not to start a tequila company. I think you should go to other countries, but not in sort of the gated, exclusive part of it. It would be really interesting for you to meet other people. For example, the time we said on this podcast that Hilaria Baldwin should just go to a Spanish prison just for a small period of time to understand a different part of the culture. I do think Kendall should maybe do some traveling, meet some real people, have some experiences that aren't about exploiting the country.
I agree. And I will say on that, look, one charge as Jessie that I might have for Kendall is that some of the things that she's advertised are shit or corrupt.
Okay. Yeah.
One such thing is Fyre Festival, for
Okay.
example. And she's saying,
That's legally on the record.
yes, that it was fucked up. And I wonder if a sentence would be that if you're going to endorse it, then you got to do it or use it.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
So if you're going to endorse Fyre Festival for a $100 and something thousand,
$275.
She made so much money from that false
I
advertising.
know. I think you got to go.
I think you've got to go. And she wouldn't have stayed. What was it? There was no tents. No. There was no water. There was no food. And there were no artists.
Big security issues.
And I think people got stuck. We're stranded at a festival that isn't on.
Yeah. Correct.
It's horrible. So she should have gone there. Also, proactive. Go on. You use it.
Yeah. Only
Use proactive. Thirdly, Pepsi. Only drink it. Because after a few cans, you start to get burpy. And so I think that she should exclusively drink Pepsi and see how that feels.
Yes. Because we can attest. It does upset your tummy
Yeah,
after
it can.
With that
It
said,
can.
Pepsi still come on board as a sponsor.
We will say that less when you sponsor us.
Yes. My final charge, and it's related to the privileged element, but slightly different. I'm charging Kendall Jenner with being super unrelatable. And this is something that I do feel a little bit sorry for her because, as you said earlier in the episode, she doesn't have a lot of vulnerability to draw on.
And she would, but it's not her fault. It's her whole brand is like, it's not my fault I'm hot. It's not my fault I'm rich.
It's not my fault I'm so skinny.
It's not
my fault I'm so athletic.
Yes. And in
Also-
fact, that's my vulnerability.
It's also not my fault I'm so successful.
No, exactly right. And so I think that that's her vulnerability.
But I think that the fact that she's unrelatable does mean that people look at her a little bit and get frustrated. So I think a sentence is that she has to share something actually vulnerable that isn't that she had pimples one time. For example, sometimes my stool isn't that soft. Sorry. Sometimes her stool isn't that solid, for example. Or maybe, but that could be related to the Pepsi. I have a fungal infection between my toes. Or I have strange hair growth in places. Or
I get a clotty period.
potentially I have no friends. Or I feel like everyone hates me. Or something of that nature that makes her... Because I do think socially, one thing... You only connect with people when they share a little bit of vulnerability. You look at those people on Instagram who are like, my life's perfect, my life's perfect. And it's the moment they go, jokes, it's not, that you think, I like you. Oh, I like that. And so I'm going to need Kendall to give me a little bit of vulnerability.
What's she trying to do with the time she got a pimple? It just wasn't enough.
Like, for example, and it can be, you know what? I've said relatable, but not necessarily. It can be in her world. It can be something like, I want to be friends with Rihanna, and Rihanna refuses to be friends with me.
Oh, great.
That's really hard for you. That must be hard.
As Chris now, I will pass that on to
Okay.
Kendall.
Thank you. Do you have any more charges or sentences?
As Chris, I just generally agree that everyone hates her because she's hot.
Okay. That is all we have time for on Cancelled today. Thank you for listening. And if you want all the evidence that we've tendered into the courtroom today, you can go to the Twins' Thoughts on Instagram, and we always put it in a highlight. So we will have the Pepsi commercial. We will have her Fyre Festival post. We will have the proactive video so you can have a look through. Because, I mean, you don't have time to do this on your own. You're in a courtroom. You need the evidence to flick through.
Your jurors.
Yeah, your jurors. And if you have time, it would be lovely if you could leave us a review. Maybe say something nice. That would be kind.
This podcast was produced by Rose Kerr. We will speak to you next week. Bye.
Bye.